Welcome, fellow Chicago Bears fans. My name is Professor Math, and for this week in Chicago, mostly Bears, I want to discuss proving that the Tush Push is both beatable and unsafe. So, in order to actually prove that it's both beatable and unsafe, we have to talk about explaining the weakness of the Tush Push. And we have to go over a little bit of background. For instance, the offense uses the center and other linesmen to get underneath the defensive linesman. This creates a path for the quarterback to gain a few yards needed for first down and or touchdown. Therefore, you need to clog the center to prevent the QB from pushing through the center and punish the offensive lineman for deliberately lunging forward into the ground in front of the QB. Therefore, in terms of the solution, and here's an overview. Try to imagine a 1,400-pound, three-person human vertical wall. Offensive linemen on the bottom and two very, very heavy defensive linemen on top of each other to clog the center and prevent the QB from sneaking in. In order to accomplish this, you need to hire two heavy, very heavy defensive linemen, aka sumo wrestlers. They weigh about 555, 600 pounds each. Second step, the first sumo wrestler needs to climb forward to the quarterback on top of the offensive lineman or the center that's crawling on the ground. In other words, the sumo wrestler making a football move will have to either jump on or climb forward on the linesman because they're trying to go to the quarterback. Step 3, the second sumo wrestler needs to jump on top of the first sumo wrestler to form this three-person, 1,400-pound human vertical wall. I've put up a little schematic. I know it's not exactly, what do you call it? That Leonardo da Vinci style, like painting or whatever, Michelangelo. But it gets the point across. Basically, you see at the bottom, the offensive lineman, the center, he's on the ground because he's lunging forward or crawling on his hands and knees towards going forward. That allows the sumo wrestler, the first sumo wrestler, to jump on him. Normally, the sumo wrestler should not be able to jump on top of the linesman. No linesman should be able to jump on another. However, because the offensive lineman is lying on the ground, crawling on the ground on his hands and knees, it actually allows the sumo wrestler enough elevation that he can jump and climb on top of him. Furthermore, we can enhance this strategy to defeat the tush push. By having the first sumo wrestler jump on top of the offensive lineman, this will push down the offensive center even further into the ground and eliminate any space between the two players, thereby lowering the height needed for the second sumo wrestler to jump on top of the first sumo wrestler, hence the 1,400-pound, three-person human vertical wall. And as I briefly discussed already, why the strategy works. However, going on to this slide, no matter how strong a QB is, the QB cannot physically push through 1,400 pounds of human flesh or even 500 pounds of human flesh. The reason is that even though I say it's a 1,400-pound vertical wall, most likely the second sumo wrestler, the body fat will be rolling off the body fat of the first sumo wrestler. So when the second sumo wrestler tries to jump on the first sumo wrestler, really their body fat will be will be touching each other, and because of the momentum of the second sumo wrestler, he's actually going to be falling forward towards the center, rolling on his body towards the center. And so think about it this way, a 500-pound mass of human flesh coming at you. And even though I've seen the videos where the QB, such as Jalen Hurts, can squat 600 pounds, that's because the weight is focused on 2-3 pressure points along the weight bar on the back. For a human actually weighing 500, 600 pounds coming at you, the weight is distributed at many points, making it virtually impossible to focus on just two spots to push on. Therefore, if anything, if Jalen Hurts tried to stop it, and imagine a 500-pound sumo wrestler falling off, rolling towards him, falling off another sumo wrestler, as well as the offensive linesman. So there's about 3 feet, maybe 2 feet, 3 feet, and falling towards him. If he tries to catch it with his 2 hands, he's just going to be crushed. Why this strategy works, I have to address both beatability and safety also, because that's the 2 complaints. The first complaint, as you know, is that supposedly the tush push is unbeatable. However, I demonstrated it's clearly beatable. As demonstrated, the QB cannot push forward through the center, even with the help of a tush push. Also, I've heard arguments, well, what if they don't run the tush push? Well, you get the same thing, whether you ban the tush push or the offensive team does not use the tush push, it's the same result. So you win either way. And it's clearly beatable. That's why they're not running it. The other issue is the safety. This play is clearly unsafe for the poor offensive linesman, whose head, back, and ribs and legs are going to be shattered by the 1,000+ pounds of the combined sumo wrestler weight on top of him. I know the Eagles keep saying it's safe, it's physically uncomfortable. I think Jason Kelce has used those words to describe it. But believe me, once you put that 1,000 pounds of weight on him, on that center and the offensive lineman guard, they're going to be crushed. And it's clearly unsafe for them. As a side note, actually, I want to point out, because the sumo wrestler have these incredible layers of fat, they're actually safe from injury. So we don't have to worry about our defensive players, our sumo wrestlers, because of the way that their body build is that. And for even a future video, I may even explain how using 3 defensive linemen without that extra layer of sumo fat to simulate the 1,000 pounds on top of the offensive lineman could actually lead to injury of the defensive linesman. But again, because of the unique build of the sumo wrestlers, they're able to actually absorb that weight and from the 500+ on top of each other. And so it's safe for them. Again, it's not safe for the offensive linesman, but it's safe for the defensive linesman, aka sumo wrestlers. And this actually goes back to a bigger concept, the strategy of using other sports to impact football. My idea of using sumo wrestlers to beat a rugby move, a tush push, is in line with the well-known strategy of adapting other sports to football. For instance, wide receivers taking ballet lessons to work on balance and coordination. So I may be revealing my age a little bit here, but back in the 70s, a lot of boys were made fun of for taking ballet lessons. But as you can see, now we are now in 2020, 2025. Guess what? It's commonly accepted for wide receivers to take ballet lessons because they're working on their balance and coordination and leaping ability. Perfectly fine. Similarly, when we talk about general managers and head coaches is targeting soccer players, because they realize that the best kickers have a strong background in soccer. In fact, Young Kim, I think his name, the guy in Atlanta, the Korean kicker, he was really a soccer player who they converted into what do you call a punter, field goal specialist, etc. And you'll see that a lot of them have been learning about that because, quite honestly, soccer players have been doing this all the time from literally young age up to now, kicking the ball, and that's essentially what you need to do. So we've actually taken, the point is that whether it's ballet lessons or looking at soccer players, football has positively been impacted by other sports, and it's important to incorporate them, whether strategy or otherwise, in order to be effective as a football team. So I'm going to talk about the ultimate goal of this presentation. It's not necessarily to advocate for NFL teams to hire sumo wrestlers to stop the tush push, despite all that up there. Although I do have to say, because this is actually just my own editorial view, I would say with proper marketing using sumo wrestlers on certain NFL plays and showing them to be effective, it would have a great chance for the NFL to open up the Japanese television market kind of along the lines of the NFL Japan 2.0. And a fun trivia note, this would be this NFL's second attempt to market the NFL to the Japanese audience. First one, not so successful. This one, obviously, though, because the sumo wrestlers are shown to be effective, it actually will be popular. And hopefully, if the Bears actually incorporate this, especially against the upcoming games against the Eagles and any other team that wants to use the tush push this season or in the playoffs, or maybe hopefully even in the Super Bowl, it will make it that much more national and international attention on these sumo wrestlers and on the Bears because I would be this is a winning strategy. All right, but so what is the ultimate goal of this video presentation? It's to get the Eagles to acknowledge that the tush push is beatable and unsafe. The problem is that based on the recent owners meeting, April in 2025, early on, where there were only 16 of 32 owners in favor of banning the tush push. It did not reach the 24 owner threshold. Therefore, this play actually or the strategy of using the sumo wrestlers to basically gang up on top of the offensive line may need to be demonstrated in order to convince them that the tush push is both beatable and unsafe. So wrapping things up, I encourage all of you to like, subscribe, and comment on this YouTube video so that more people, especially the Chicago Bears coaching staff, front office, and players, and see this. And I also encourage everyone to share your opinions on other strategies to beat the tush push. Because whether you agree with my strategy or not, we can all agree that no true Bears fans want to see the Bears lose to the tush push. We all want to see them win the Super Bowl. So we got to support our team, but in a smart way. We have to come up with ideas, hopefully that even the Bears staff has not thought of, out of the box thinking that Ben Johnson loves, supposedly, as he said. And it's just one of those out of the box things that you will not find on any coaching staff. No one's ever thought of this before using the sumo wrestlers, or at least I'm aware of. I've been pushing for this idea for several years now, but this is the first time I've ever posted it on YouTube. So, but it's important that we start coming up with different strategies. Otherwise, the other thing is just to lose to the tush push. And then the Bears don't win the Super Bowl, essentially. And with this concludes another week in review in Chicago, mostly Bears. Again, I'm your host, Professor Math, wishing you all a great day and bear down.